Now, you can see we've got a beautiful view of a white-backed vulture, and not just one. There's actually two of them. So we're at the vulture nest. I'm trying to see if I can't find any sign of the little ones poking their head up. There it is. You can actually see its little beak. You see it there? Just between the sticks. Hopefully it'll move. There, it's moving. That's the little head for the vulture. You can see it's very fluffy and white. It's difficult to make out in amongst the sticks, but there is definitely a little vulture there. How cool is this? That's very cool. Now, it seems as though there's only one from the movement that I can see, and that's maybe why the adults aren't sitting on theirs, because the little one is awake and moving around a bit. But it seems to be quite big already, so I know Byron saw it a few weeks ago. There it is. It's poking its head up now. This is cool. We're definitely going to just keep monitoring this area. It's going to be so nice to follow and see what goes on. You can see it's still a lot fluffier than what the adults are, and that will be because it needs to stay warm. Ultimately, it's much smaller, and it is cold temperatures that we do get at night, and so it needs a bit more feathering just to stay nice and warm inside the nest. You'll find the adults will help with that as well. They'll also lie there and use their body heat to warm up this little chick. But that's a very curious chick. As you can see, it's actually quite big already. Much bigger than I thought it would be. And the little one. Now, they will be nest bound for about 140 days, so it's still a long time that it stays around the nest. You will find that when it gets towards the back end of that, they do start doing short little flights around the tree and around the nest site itself, but this little one will still be there for a long time. They generally start breeding in around June, July area, sometimes a little bit earlier, May, and they will incubate the eggs for about 45 days, 44 to 45 days, and then that hatches, and like I said, it'll be nest bound for about 140 days. And that's why vultures are generally only breeding once every year and a half, sometimes every year if they're lucky, but it's generally every year and a half that they will breed. And they will come back to the same nest, so you'll find that these guys will utilize this nest again in times to come, particularly if this one survives and it's able to make its way and the nest doesn't get disturbed by anything. James, you want to know if they would ever use a nest made by another vulture species. James, I've never seen them use a nest from another vulture species, and that's because different vulture species like different nesting sites. So the hooded vultures, unlike these whitebacks that like their nest towards the top end of the tree, you'll find hooded vultures like their nests in deep, dense foliated trees, so things like jackalberries, scotias, up along drainage systems. You'll find the Cape vulture likes to nest on cliff areas, so they often on the edge of mountains and escarpments. That's why you see more Cape vultures if you go up towards the Mariepskop and that side. It's where they like to nest in that area. And then the lappet-faced and the white-headeds, they also like similar nests to this, but being bigger birds, they'll generally outcompete these whitebacks. So not that I've ever seen them take over another vulture's nest. I've seen them utilizing other birds of prey nests. So I've seen vultures take over fish eagle nests before. I've seen them take over hammerkop nests and varying other eagle species as well. So they do utilize other birds of prey, but I've never seen them actually physically take another vulture nest from, a different species. They might steal from one another, but not from a different species. Isn't that cool? Right, well, we're going to carry on. We'll leave our little chick in peace, but while we do that, I believe Taylor has found some luck and has found a beautiful big herd of elephants.
It's our herd of elephants that we saw yesterday. Hello, big girl. Now, the reason why I know it's the same herd is because we were actually watching these three very same elephants yesterday afternoon, and this cow has got a hole in her right ear, which you might be able to see. You can see that's quite easy to sort of be able to identify her, and then yes, all the same three calves, and that's quite nice. So we were with some others, and then I spotted her and thought, oh well, we better come back and say hello. And they are very relaxed this morning. Still not sure what got them so upset at Chitwa Dam yesterday, but she is finding this shrub to be absolutely delicious. Isn't that nice? No, you're done now. No, I still think there's some bark on there. There's a couple of nice tasty leaves too. Don't waste. Times are scarce in the winter months, elephant. But she's a beautiful, I think she's quite an old girl. She's not a very big elephant cow. And her youngsters are trying to copy her now. So monkey see, monkey do. They're now also feeding on this monkey orange. and trying to just strip the bark, which is really quite cool, don't you think? Mrs. Zero, you said that you need baby elephants. Now, unfortunately, most of the herd is actually crossed into Torchwood already, so they didn't stay on Djuma for too long, just visiting, overnighting, really, and now they're going to go back on their adventure. Perhaps this afternoon we'll find them at Chitwa Dam again. Maybe we'll just keep following this herd around. This seems to be the luck that I'm having with the elephants, and that suits me just fine. Hello, big girl. You're not interested in us. I thought she was going to come over at one point and say hello, but I don't think she's really too bothered by us. No, she's going to go and take that branch from her offspring. Give that to me, thank you. That's mine now. I taught you how to use your trunk. I'm now going to take the food right out of your mouth. That's so funny. Or maybe she's going to help it. No, she's going to keep that for herself. There we go. You see, that's what that youngster hadn't learned yet. Mom saw an opportunity and took it. Look how she's stripping that bark really nicely now. Exposing the cambium layer. She'll probably crunch on it a little bit, loosen the fibers, and then that bark will peel off relatively easily. And we don't normally see this behavior in summer. This is typically what they feed on in the winter months because there isn't really any leaves and things. We often talk about it. And I look forward to watching the elephants push down big trees. I'm very excited about that. It's pretty impressive to see something like that. So this is that youngster that's a couple of years old, a young male. He hasn't got his tusks yet, though, which is interesting. I was talking about this yesterday, and I was looking again. Every time he curls his trunk back, I'm trying to see if I can see any little tusks protruding, but I can't. I wonder, are you just going to be a late bloomer? It'd be interesting. Maybe we'll try and follow these elephants as they move about, but they might not stay in this area for too long. We know that happens. They're regularly traveling pretty much from the northern side of the Sabi sand all the way down to the south and back into Kruger again. So we could not see them for a couple of months. But two elephants that stand out to me, of course, this cow with a hole in her ear, and then you might remember from yesterday, we had that one cow who had very, very long, slender tusks. And I think that she's quite unique. So at least we've got two elephants that we can try and identify. And if I find any more with any special features, that would help in finding the herd. And that's again to say if I was correct in saying that I don't think they're one family group, that I think there's a number of different family groups within this herd. And off they go. I'm just crossing the road. Oh, there's my hat. Isn't that cool? It's very, very dry here, but this is also obviously where they're burnt as well, so there isn't much vegetation back. But this will be an area that the vegetation will grow first once we do get a bit of rain. Well, are they going to feed on some bush swallows? Yum. Changing their diet slightly now, but it is very varied. Also, I can't wait for them to start digging for roots and digging for bulbs. We're quite lucky in seeing them dig for water in the Mulwati. And that's quite nice to see. But I think that's relatively easy, in compared to when they start digging for the squill bulbs, one of their favourite things to feed on, or digging for the roots of the bush willow trees. They seem to enjoy too, especially with the youngsters. And they obviously aren't as strong as the adults, so they struggle quite a bit. So it normally ends up in a fight, and sometimes they just throw a tantrum and give up and move off, and then go and try and steal the scraps from one of the older, more experienced elephants. I think that was that little one, also trying to strip leaves, making funny noises. But I don't know if any of you managed to count those elephants from yesterday by using the screenshots. I actually don't think I estimated as to how big the herd was. There must have been about 50 of them, quite easily. But obviously now they're all spread out. Like I said, most of them are in Torchwood already. Very peaceful out here. Now, Nikki, you're wondering how hard of a life would it be for a bull if he were tuskless? Hello, big girl. I don't think necessarily that hard. The only problem, of course, is that when he wants to challenge other big bulls for mating rights with, the breeding herds of females, he's going to run into a bit of trouble. However, no people will really be interested in him. I think if I were to be an animal, and we talk about this often, we want to be elephants because they're the largest mammal, land mammal. Now, you obviously have to remember that humans are the number one threat to these animals. So if you were a tuskless elephant bull, I think that you would be pretty safe. Hang on, there's some little elephants. They're now crossing the road. Okay, let me try and turn. Just don't want to upset this cow. Sorry, girl, there's no way for me to go this way. Let me just quickly try and move around over here. I'm just going to give her a bit of a wide berth. And so yeah, so I suppose it wouldn't be that most ideal thing for an elephant bull. Let's actually go past her. Sorry, young lady, we're just going to mosey on around you, because there's a little baby elephant. You see, they've changed direction now. See, they're already crossed over and they're coming back again. Whee! Let's go find them. There's a bigger group. Just checking to see if there's any more coming here. Hi, elephants. Very busy today, aren't we? Oh, there's no teeny tiny ones here. They're all a couple of years old already. Maybe they'll come back. You can just see them. Moving off into the thicket now. So, maybe we won't find them at Chitwa Dam. Maybe we'll find them in the Molwati. Now, Victoria, you're asking a question that Tristan absolutely loves answering, and that is any update on Fang? Nope. I'm pretty sure as soon as we see any pictures or anything on that elephant, we'll be the first to know about it. Like I said, these elephants move far and wide, and sometimes we don't see them come back for a couple of months. You must remember, like the wildebeest migrate and the zebras migrate, which you're seeing in Kenya, the animals are constantly migrating in the sands, but mini migrations. So those elephants are probably down in the south. Maybe they've moved into Kruger or elsewhere. They could be on the border of Mozambique by now, and maybe they're slowly making their return. But I promise you, as soon as we have any updates on Shadow, on Fang, and on Shongile, and the rest of the leopards after that dispute, and also on Salahesh, you will be the first ones to know. So don't think that we're keeping anything from you. That's not the case at all. We just don't know the answers, and we don't, like we always say, we don't want to start rumors and cause unnecessary panic. We rather have the information when we're given it by the correct people. But yes, I've asked friends down in the south if they've seen that particular herd, and they said they haven't seen Fang. They also, like I said, that's where I first saw her, down in the southern sands, and they said they haven't seen her around there. So all that particular herd, it's quite a large herd that she has. So I'm not sure where they are. Now this little one is obviously struggling quite a bit, as you can see. There we go. Well done. You've got to use your entire body force when you're that small to break the trees, but it hasn't broken it completely yet. And bush willow wood, it's quite hard, but on those younger branches, they're very flexible. So I know all about trying to break a branch like that and not being able to get through it. But now it's just sort of biting down and sort of chewing on the stick, trying to get the bark. There we go. You can see where it's been biting. Look at that. Now, of course, we've just seen the technique that is preferred, or the most effective way to strip bark from a tree. But when you're that young, it's very frustrating. You can't do what you want. You know what you're supposed to do, but nothing's working. No, going somewhere else. It seems that little one actually snapped the wrong branch. Go and find a big sibling to help you. But this is lovely. There's some more elephants slowly coming through the thicket now too. I'm just trying to see if there's any tiny tots. Now, I believe there's a bit of chatter at the moment about how do elephants get holes in their ears. Here's a youngster coming towards us now. Which route are you going to take? It's a young bull. So it's quite interesting, of course, how this happens. Basically, it could be from a thorn, it could be from anything really, and a thorn will pierce the skin, or it will get hooked on a tree, something along those lines, and the bacteria then starts eating away at the skin before it eventually heals, and it creates these amazing shapes. Obviously, we've seen complete circles, and we've seen the bell shape that Daryl has in his ears. I've seen slits and a number of different things. So it just happens all the time. I'm so sorry, I'm staring directly into the sun, so I have my eyes closed now. Let's not damage my eyes more than they get damaged by working out in the bush. Where are you going, little one? And he looks like he's looking for things on the ground, so perhaps he's trying to sniff out an area that's got some bulbs. You see that trunk is working the ground quite vigorously. Bless you. Or are you looking for roots or little plants? What's he got there? Oh, he's found a little bit of a root of some sort. I think that's obviously leftovers from what another elephant has already dug up and discarded. Now it's taking full advantage of that. That's nice. So nothing goes to waste out here. Even when an elephant comes through, there will be other elephants that maybe aren't strong enough, aren't clever enough to get their own roots, and they'll just pick up what's left behind. As it's warming up now, it's quite nice to actually just be sitting still in the sun. I've been able to take my gloves off, and I'm sure the elephants are also enjoying the warmth. You hear a bit of chatter on the radio, but I'm not sure what it's about. Maybe it's just about this elephant sighting. Well, I'm sure Tristan will have it handled if there is anything else happening on the property. Oh, I did hear about Nkanyeni, because we haven't really seen much of her, or I haven't actually heard much of her either. Apparently she crossed from Nkoro into Torchwood today, and she was looking fine. Nobody said anything in particular about her, so I presume that means that she's in good condition. I miss seeing those leopards in Nkanyeni, Kuchava, Quarantine. They were really cool. Obviously they traverses mainly around Cheetah Plains and Koro and those sorts of areas. What are you going for? Roots now. See, there's a round-leaf teak. They love round-leaf teak. That's one of the favorite things that the elephants will eat at this time of the year. Also, the zebras eat the leaves. The buffalo eat their leaves. Lots of different animals like it, but they're going for the sort of stems and the roots at the moment. I suppose it's quite easy in terms of a plant, because those little stems grow quite straight. You know, not like that monkey orange that branches off into many different segments and can be quite difficult to try and use the sort of twisting corkscrew method when it comes to stripping bark. So this is a lot easier. So maybe that's also why they prefer it. Maybe they prefer the easy, whatever they can get that's the easiest. Although some days you see elephants being quite specific, you know, moving past lovely long green grass, specifically looking for a shrub, you know, maybe they've got the taste for wild asparagus one afternoon, and then that's all they'll be searching for. But using its foot as well as its trunk, pulling it up, and then kicking it almost like the foot is a spade to try and cut it. Isn't that lovely? Now, Janine, you're wondering if anything ever gets stuck up a trunk. I think the only thing that could answer that would be an elephant, but sadly they can't speak the same language as us. I don't necessarily think with adults. I think they'd be alright, but maybe a young elephant, you know, trying to still maneuver its trunk around, especially a youngster that hasn't really trained any of those muscles. I wonder if they put their trunk to the ground, which they do often, and breathe up, maybe a little stone or a seed or something goes up their nose or up their trunk. I'm sure things like that happen all the time. I have never, in my experience, come across an elephant that has had anything stuck up its trunk, but it's, I suppose you can't really say no, because if you look at humans, how many times do young kids put things that they're not supposed to up their nose, in their ears, swallowing buttons and coins and all these types of things? I wouldn't put it past a little elephant to put something in its mouth that it wasn't supposed to, or again, just breathing too hard and all sorts of things going up its trunk. So what are you doing now, Ellie? You're just taking a break from feeding. It did just cover itself with dust. I can't see too many insects out and about at the moment, but perhaps it's just preparing for the day. You know, while there's some nice loose sand there, fine dust, might as well use it to cover your body, to try and put a layer between its skin and those biting flies. But we'll see if we can get a view of some more of these elephants. They are moving into the thicket now, but maybe there's some more heading this way. Let's go back across to Tristan and see which area on Djuma he is now working.
Well, Taylor, I'm super glad that you've had a nice big herd of Ellies and a long view of them. And I'm just in the central parts of Djuma, just driving around, seeing what there is. I've checked around Shabamu and Philemon's Cut Line, and now I went past Treehouse Dam. All was very quiet there. There was the obligatory Egyptian goose at Treehouse Dam, but other than that, it was fairly sort of quiet that side. So now I'm just on Elephant Carcass. I'll check Pangolin tracks to see by any chance if any of our leopards came out of there from last night. So that's it. I'm just thoroughly enjoying the sunshine at this stage, and Seb and I have been discussing all things to do with life and the way to problem solve everything, and so it's been a fantastic morning. We've had a wonderful time. There's been a few birds about. We saw some lilac-breasted rollers, but they flew away, unfortunately. That's why we couldn't put them on camera. And so, very, very pleasant morning indeed. And I suppose it always is pleasant when you start your morning with the Nkuhuma Pride. And hopefully it will just be a day that will continue to develop in the upward trend. But we haven't seen many trucks around, which is interesting. From yesterday, where there was trucks everywhere for our spotted friends, to today, where there's been very little sign of them whatsoever. I don't think Taylor's seen many leopard tracks this morning, and I certainly haven't seen one yet. So I'm going to just try and see if I can't find something to do with them or anything really. I don't really have too much of a plan now. Kind of plan for the morning was to try and find the Nkuhuma Pride and try and see where they are between Taylor and myself. And now that we've done that, it's just to enjoy the day and enjoy the beauty of being out in the bush. There's some arrow-marked babblers that are babbling away somewhere here. We'll try to see if we can't find them quickly. Where did you guys go? Can you hear them? Can you see them? Yeah. Oh, there they are, yeah. It's always nice because they make a lot of wing flapping, so when they're out in the open and they flap their wings, you can actually see them. So there it is, sitting on the branch, the arrow-marked babbler, and they are characterized by a fairly drab back section, but then they have these little arrows on their chest, and that's where they get their name, and then these big bright eyes as well. So they're actually quite nice birds to look at, particularly when they turn around. You can see this one's all fluffed up, it's busy preening itself, so it's just getting itself nice and conditioned for the day ahead. Also, you'll find a lot of the birds were puffed up this morning, much like the impala was, to try and stay warm. So they're just trying to hold a bit of that air against their body and keep it, or heat it up with their body heat, and then stay insulated from there. Nice, it's flown away. I'm sure a lot of you have those on your bird list already. It's a more common one of our birds that we see here, but if you haven't and you've just started your list, hopefully that's a new one for you. Now we're going to go and just quickly check a bit of the Mulawati, see if there isn't any sign of anything in there. And while we do that, let's go back to Jamie, who's also bumbling about, just like I am, in the beautiful Masai Mara.
I'm just thinking about arrow-marked babblers. Definitely one of my favorite birds. I've been compared to an arrow-marked babbler once or twice before. That's okay. Right, so we're not entirely bumbling. We're bumbling a little bit. I'm on my way towards the report of a lioness, but I'm taking the long way round because 2 days in a row now we've seen a little lost baby elephant in this area. Baby is perhaps a bit deceptive. He's probably about 4 or 5 or so, maybe even a bit younger. Let's say about 4. And we found him after the big storm that we weathered on the Thursday night. BM and I found him wandering around, not looking too distressed, but clearly separated from the rest of his herd. And then Brent tells me that he saw him here yesterday in pretty much the same place. I just want to go and check in and see whether or not he's around. If he is, we'll recognize him immediately if he's on his own. But if he's reunited with the rest of the herd, I don't know that I would be able to recognize him again. But it's something worth just having a check-up on. And I suspect that the number of times that elephants get lost like that is relatively rare. I don't think it happens that often. And perhaps, this is pure supposition, I suspect the storm had something to do with it. But maybe when there are this many wildebeest, okay, I know there are none now, but when there are that many wildebeest in an area, perhaps it does become confusing for the elephants in the dark, especially if they're stampeding around them. And maybe that is one of the reasons why the elephants try to avoid the migratory herds. I don't know. That's just something I've been thinking about as a possibility. And of course, this area as well is always there's a good chance we might find those young males. The young male lions, that is. And I know how confusing it is to get caught in the middle of a stampede at night. It's terrifying. Honesty is really very scary. It must be for the elephants as well. I wonder if the wildebeest ever run into them. I don't know. Yes, absolutely. There are leopards that have names out here, just in the way that the ones do on Djuma. There's a female with cubs that's seen quite regularly around Little Governor's side, and I can't, for the life of me, of course, now I've mentioned her, I can't remember her name. We haven't really had the opportunity to get to know the leopards as well, but I mean, you've seen the cheetah before. They all have names. It's exactly the same system. Most of the time it is a local name, whether it's a Masai name or whether it's a Swahili name. But they do have names. The one confusing thing though is that often you'll find that different lodges and different guides have different names for the same animal and the same lion pride, which for us to try and unpick that nest was quite a complicated experience. And then of course gets a little bit confusing. Not all of the leopards have names. I suspect that the 3 that we saw don't, and the reason that I say that is because they're skittish. They were scared, so people haven't spent enough time with them. Ian, where's this teeming life of the Masai Mara? All over that way, I imagine. On the hill. Hey, they're back. The reason I'm glad that the wildebeest are back is because we have signal there, essentially. Michelle, I think that would be something fascinating to study, and I'm sure somebody has studied it before. I'm not sure that there will be a predator birth increase during the time of the migration. Maybe, actually. Just like you get peak seasons in the wet season in South Africa with the births of the youngsters. I would say though that your survival rate of the cubs would most definitely increase during the migration because there's more food, and the fact that there's so much food keeps the male lions distracted, they of course being the biggest threat. That keeps the hyenas distracted, and it basically means that the cubs get to eat on a very regular basis. So I would say the survival rate increases. I'm not sure about the birth rate. Morning everybody. It's the balloon landing spot and breakfast. Okay, let's put foot a little bit. Cover a bit of ground. Okay, we're going to go racing along towards the fringes of the wildebeest herd and of course that lioness. Let's go back to Tristan, who's found probably a very sleepy bird.
Well, our incredible run of seeing owls continues. As you can see, peering through a jackalberry tree is a beautiful spotted eagle owl. Now there's not just one, there's actually 2 of them. The other one I can't see at the moment. If they both flew out of the underbrush as we were driving in the Mulawati, and now has at least landed in a gap that we can see. Now we know it's a spotted eagle owl just from its general sort of look. It's got that mottled grey brown appearance and those bright yellow eyes. They look quite similar to another eagle owl species that occurs in South Africa, the Cape eagle owl, but the Cape eagle owl tends to have a much more orange coloured eye and obviously doesn't occur in this area given that it's a Cape eagle owl. But it's a nice find. I actually haven't seen these spotted eagle owls in this area before, and generally if you get a pair in a section like this, they should become fairly resident and we should hopefully see them quite often. I wonder if they're not prepping to start looking for a nesting site or trying to start prepping to breed, because they do breed. Their height of their breeding season is now August, September. This is when they will breed extensively. They do breed through the rest of the year, but August, September, October is the heightened period of breeding. So I wonder if they're not prepping, trying to find a nest somewhere in this particular section, and these big jackalberries will be a perfect place for them. But you can see it's got the fake ear tufts, so those are not actual ears that stick up. It's just little tufts of feathers that go in that direction. But this is so cool to see. Like I say, we've had such a great run. Taylor's had that magnificent sighting of the Varroes. We've had these two eagle owls. We had the pearl-spotted owlets last night. There's been barred and Scots owls. And sometimes we go long periods without seeing them. So I'm super happy that we've been able to find a lot more in the last few weeks. And to see them during the day is even more special. So very, very happy. And the camouflage of that bird is unbelievable. From where we are now, you can see that it looks really clear on the monitor, but if Seb comes out a little bit, you'll see how that mottled appearance just starts to blend in. So that's also still zoomed in, and our visual from here, if you were driving along, it would be very difficult to see that. There you go. That's what we're seeing basically from here, and try spot an eagle owl in that. It really is amazing camouflage. Roshni, you're wondering if these owls are monogamous? Yes, they are. So once they pair together, they're much like the eagle species, that they will actually stay together for life. Is it still there? Have you lost it now? So Seb's battling to find it. That just shows you how camouflaged it is. It is still there, Seb. I can see it. Somewhere there. I don't know where. Up and to the left is what Alice says. There we go. Well done, Alice. So Alice is on the ball this morning. She obviously had a good night's sleep because she's spotting the owlets, or the owls, through our lenses. So well done, Alice. But yes, they are monogamous, and they will be residents in an area, like I said. So once you find them in a section like this, you'll find that they'll actually spend a lot of time in this area. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see them on the Twin Dams Road. They're often a species that likes to be on the road. They don't like to actually spend too much time in the thickets. When they are at night, they land on the road, and then they watch for all kinds of things that move around, rodents and varying other things, and then they go and grab them. So we should see these guys on Twin Dams, and I would imagine along the Mulawati. Wouldn't it be cool if they nest and we get a eagle owl nest as well? That would be something spectacular. I remember in Leadwood, which is where Brent's parents live, and in Hoedspruit, and he once went with Brent there, and they were actually nesting in the bank of a riverbed, much like this, and you could eye level with the chicks. It was really quite something. So I'll check where they were just now. Maybe they're going to utilize a similar area in the Mulawati. Now, we're going to carry on and give our owls a little bit of peace and quiet, and while we do that, let's head back to Taylor and see if she's still with her Ellies.
We had to do quite a bit of repositioning because they've moved off of Chitwa now, and they're on Drakensberg Road North, which is quite interesting. They're actually moving through this block very, very quickly, and it's not the smallest sort of area that they need to move around on, but I'm very happy that they've come back this way, because I thought that we were going to lose them in Torchwood. We could still lose them though, because they're just moving through the thickets now, and it's very, very dense here. But quite interestingly, they've stopped feeding on the bush willows and the round-leaf teaks, and they seem to be nibbling on the guarries at the moment, which I think to be quite cool. We don't often see many animals feeding on the guarri trees, other than the birds and the monkeys and, well, me, looking for the fruit. But there's no fruit on this one just yet. There's still little flowers. And those trees are full of tannins, and they really are bitter. You bite just into one of those leaves, and they're not particularly nice. But we do know that a lot of these animals are aware of the various sort of medicinal properties that the plants have, probably more so than what we even understand. And I know one good use for the guarri trees is if you've got an upset stomach in the bush, you eat a couple of those leaves and those tannins will dry you right out. So I wonder, maybe she hasn't been feeling too well and she's just decided she's just going to have a couple of mouthfuls. Obviously she'll need a few more leaves than you and I would need to eat, and that's it. Literally just she probably had 3 or 4 trunkfuls of that guarri tree, and now they've all moved off. And that's the only reason why I think that she'd want to eat something that is so full of tannins. Again, the elephant digestive system is completely different from ours, and out of most of the animals out here, it's actually quite weak and quite bad. What I'll do, Senzo, is let me reverse just a little bit for you, and we'll get another gap of her. You know, reaching up and feeding on them, but they don't normally develop one, so they're not a favorite tree, of course. Ooh. Oh, that's quite exciting. So it sounds like some of the Nkuhumas are actually crossed back onto Vuyatela. Alice, I'm a bit too far away. I'm right on Drakensberg North, so I'm in the most northeastern corner of the property. Tristan is welcome to head that way. I'm going to stick with these elephants, I think, because I know from when we saw them yesterday out in the open on Chitwa, there were lots and lots and lots of little elephants, but I can't figure out where those little elephants are. They must still be feeding in this direction. I did hear Taxon's car. He came and joined me in the sighting. I actually heard it stop just up ahead, so I wonder if he hasn't found another group of them again. But how exciting is that potentially we could have some big cats again for the last sort of 45 minutes of the show. Actually, I don't even know how much time we've got left. Oh, it's about that. That was a good guess. We've become very good at guessing. That's one thing that my skills have improved on when it comes to working out in the bush, is estimating. But she's also, she's not a big elephant, this one. I think it's the same cow that we were looking at earlier, because she's still got those two offspring, and I thought I did see a hole in her right ear. We can't see it on this one. I think she must be due to have another calf soon as well, just from the age sort of differences. Maybe in the next year or so she'll give birth to another calf, maybe in a year and a half. Yeah, she's fairly round. Her mammary glands aren't too sort of swollen just yet, so she's sort of just finishing up when it comes to suckling her youngest calf. But normally the mammary glands actually don't subside at all. They sort of stay quite full constantly, especially if it is a cow that's breeding regularly. Slightly stressed, I presume, or more that secretion from the temporal gland, but I've been seeing that a lot with a lot of the female elephants, in fact, not necessarily the bulls. So I wonder what that's about. I wonder if it is just now the fact that the vegetation isn't as nutritious as what it has been, and their body is taking some strain. That could be it. You know, the water's starting to dry up too. They're having to travel further to find water. There'll be a number of different things that could be causing that. But this is my favorite thing in the whole wide world, is just to sit with these elephants, and I talk about it often. I can hear, I heard the branches breaking in the distance. So they're still coming through this block. So, yeah, this is sort of the only elephants we're going to see right now until the others start making their way this side. But if they carry on feeding the way they are, it's very difficult to try and predict where they're going to go, because they're zigzagging. Remember, they started off on this side, on Djuma, and then went across to Torchwood, and then came back across to Djuma again. And now they were going west, but they've changed direction. Now they're going south again. So they could really end up anywhere. I think maybe they'll go to Chitwa to drink water, or they'll go and dig water in the Molwati. Like I said, it's very hard to sort of say. Aren't you beautiful? Lovely long eyelashes. I love that coloration with the orange of the variable bush willow and the dark grey skin of an elephant. It's quite pretty. Makes for very nice photographs. Starting to hear again a lot of the LBJs, all the little brown jobs, the little brown birds that are fluttering about now. They're all starting to tweak in here. Start hearing the cisticulars. Definitely you can hear some cameropteras. Some sunbirds too. Helmet shrikes. It's quite nice. Lovely sound of the bush at the moment. And then, of course, the odd crack of a branch here and there from the elephants. Who knows, they might surprise us. Maybe they end up at Vuyatela Dam. How nice would that be? It would be really quite cool. But let's go up a little bit further. Let's see. I can start to see some more grey heads popping out on the right. Deep, you're wondering what the difference between African elephants and Indian elephants are. Well, the African elephants are much larger in size. Also, the African elephant's ears are slightly bigger too, and it's quite common for African elephants to have tusks, both male and female. Obviously, the male tusks get much larger. Whereas with Indian elephants, it's obviously not as common to find these big tusker bulls. It's actually quite rare, in fact. And then the Indian Indian elephants seem to get quite a bit of pigmentation on their skin. We don't normally see that with the African elephants. And their ears are much smaller again. Let's see if we can find some more. So there's quite a few differences, but mainly if you're looking at them, they actually look completely different. If you had to pull up, maybe some of you can do that. Maybe one of you has a nice screenshot of an elephant looking forward from this morning from another time. See, they're coming this way. We just actually have to be patient. I need to be patient. And maybe someone can pull a picture from the interweb of an Asian elephant, an Indian elephant, and you can have a look and you'll see straight away. They look very different. The whole shape of their head is also they're not the same. I wonder if this is the main part of the herd coming down. See, they're changing direction again. Let's try to see. There's no particular animal pathway, though the elephants, they just walk wherever they want to walk. They create many pathways. I reckon maybe in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, the rest of the herd will be out here. They're just a little bit too far into the thicket. I mean, I don't even know if you're going to be able to see them very well with a camera. It's a tough one. I'm just playing the reverse game. Right, well, we'll keep reversing until we find a decent gap to view some elephants. I'm sure they'll be here shortly. Tristan, however, is racing from central Djuma back towards the west, hoping to cross paths with those lions.
We are, Taylor. We're going to try and head back to where we had them. It sounds like they've crossed exactly in the same place back again. So hopefully they're lying on that open area. I'll check there. If there's nothing there, then we'll head back towards that drainage where they did cross. So we are trying to get there with some haste. At this stage, it's still quite far away. So eventually we'll get there, and hopefully the lions will still be there. And they haven't gone back the other way again. It does happen sometimes that lions are fairly mobile. Interesting though that the whole pride went across and only 2 came back. I wonder if the rest just decided to lie up, and I wonder who the 2 are that are moving back in our direction, because it'll be interesting. I'm pretty sure Amber Eyes will be in those 2. She's generally around and moving about, and the one that's a little bit more unsettled than the rest, she tends to not spend as much time taking it easy as the others do. I search for lions who I'm sure would love and would be in 7th heaven if they were dropped into the middle of the Masai Mara during this migration. I believe Jamie's with some of those herds right now, so let's go across to her and see if there aren't any lions lurking on the edge of them.
I don't know if there's any lions lurking, but I'm sure, as Tristan said, our Sabi Sands lions would be thoroughly happy to be plopped down in the middle of what we're looking at the moment. They're going the wrong way, though. Come back! Look at this. Look at the line. It's like a line of those safari ants in the middle of our... Look! Look at that. Isn't that incredible? That is so cool. Come back, though. You're going the wrong way. Come back this way. Where did you even come from, actually? Come to think of it. I know there were no wildebeest and no zebra the other way. Or at least they weren't a couple of days ago. Straight towards Egyptian goose. That is where we shall be heading this afternoon. The Egyptian goose pride, I think, or the salt lick pride. That is crazy. Back once again. On Friday night, Vim and I had to take a detour due to a bus that slipped off the road and was blocking the entire main road, and we ended up, long story short, and driving sideways most of the way, we ended up near the Tanzanian border. And although I obviously couldn't see it with my own eyes, I think that's probably the biggest wildebeest herd I've ever seen. Looking at it in the thermal, it was as though every single ridge was painted yellow in the thermal light. It was... I can't even describe it. I think I would be safe in saying that it must have been somewhere around 500,000. All scattered across the ridges between the Masai Mara and, well, the Mara Triangle in Tanzania. Here come the zebras, moving along with them. I didn't appreciate the number of zebra that we saw in the beginning. At least I don't think I did. Should have taken more photographs. Beautiful. Now come back this way. This way. Please. Nancy, you want to know if they're following a road. There is a road that runs along there. I think they might be on it, but I'm not 100% sure. I think they are on that road. There's a road that runs all the way along there towards the salt lick, towards the Murrum pits that the Egyptian goose love, which is the borrow pits, basically, where they've been artificially dug. Yes, I think they are moving along the road. Incredible. I wonder what goes through their minds. Follow the guy in front of me, I guess. Seems to be the extent of thought. Craig, you'd like to know if it's the start of the migration. It's a little bit confusing the way that it all works. It's not the beginning. We've been experiencing the beginning of the migration for the last month and a half, actually. First the zebra arrived from Tanzania, and then the wildebeest as well. So it's not the start, but essentially what happens is the wildebeest and the zebra flow backwards and forwards. So it's not one massive herd that moves together in a group. You get scattered herds, some that are just a couple of hundred, some that are up to 100,000 wildebeest at a time. And essentially they move backwards and forwards throughout this entire time period of the migration through the Masai Mara ecosystem, and backwards and forwards following depending on the rains, depending on the grasses, depending, as far as I can tell, on how they're feeling on that particular day. So they do move backwards and forwards. So it's not the start, it's just the process of the... Sorry, my tiny little earpiece doesn't appreciate the twist. It's basically the continuation of the whole process of the migration. And now they're going back towards the salt licks, it seems. That seems to be where they're going. So that's where we're going to be spending our afternoon. Unfortunately, we're not going to go there now. It's far. We're going to start heading towards that lioness. In the meantime, it sounds as though Taylor's found the animal that really doesn't enjoy the company of zebra and wildebeest.
There's some more coming. So there's quite a few elephants. We just missed quite a big herd of them going through. That's one of the very, very big cows we saw yesterday afternoon. There were two particularly large elephants in this herd. Let me go forward for you. We'll get the others. The others are coming this way too. Maybe we'll just sit here. I was actually amazed. I don't know when last I saw two really, really big elephant cows like that. I mean, they look like relatively big elephant bulls. And the elephants in Kruger, they do get quite large. But that was just amazing, and just to see them, they were quite close to the car. I was looking up at them like you do with a bull. I just want to figure out what the route is of this next wave of elephants is going to be. You can just see they're starting to come through here. There's a youngster just off the side of the road. What's going to be our best bet? I'm just deciding. No, let's go forward a little bit. I think we might have to catch them up ahead. Let's do that. We'll just sneak past this young friend. He's probably going to give us a bit of trouble. He gave us trouble earlier, which was quite funny, in fact. I'll try to roll past him. Hello again. You tried to throw a stick at me, didn't you? Earlier. No. Well, let me go forward again. Okay. It's okay. I just want to sneak past you. I don't want to harm you. We've already had a close conversation. You walked right up to the car. What are you talking about? I like this little elephant. He's very sweet. On his own, Mr. Independent. Now he's probably going to run at the car, because that's what he did earlier. It was very funny. Hello, boy. Yes, we like you. Yes. See what he did? No. He's quite a funny chap. I knew he was going to do this because he did it to us earlier. He's going... I know I'm not big and strong enough to intimidate you, so I'm going to come at you at a big speed, and hopefully that will make you scared of me. He's turned again. He's going to get Senzo. He's going to pull Senzo's blanket off. Perhaps he's going, I'm cold. Give me that fluffy thing. That looks fantastic. He's a lovely fellow. He has not got a horrible bone in his body. He's very playful with his mannerisms. He knows not to stir too much, but there's a big bull. Let me go just have a look at him. They're moving quite quickly now. I think this is maybe the end of the herd. The matriarchs have obviously said we need to go. Let's go. Hi, big fella. We saw you yesterday too. Are you still harassing everyone? Probably. You know, he's slightly agitated as well. Okay, big boy. Let's see if we can get another view. Oh, the wattled starlings are here. It's cool. You might be able to see there's a couple of birds actually following this group of elephants. And they are wattled starlings. There's a big bull that you can see. Now, makeup girl, you're wondering if there are any animals that fear the elephants. Many, in fact. Nobody really messes with an elephant out in here. Lions will get up and run. Leopards, they get chased up in trees often. Hyenas as well. Hyenas have that I don't care attitude though, which is normally quite funny. Oh my gosh, I've spotted another elephant. Senzo. Okay. You see the big... I'll get back to your question, makeup girl, because I want to see if we can have a look at it, just to show you how far away. Can you see in that open gap in the distance? Can you see what I'm talking about? If you go in there, look how open it is. You should be... There's a big elephant moving. Can you see? You got him right in the center of the screen. So that just shows you, I've been trying to tell you how amazing and how easy it is to actually spot animals now. That must be about 4 or 5 kilometers away from where we are as the crow flies. It's very, very far away. And he's just crossing through that sort of marula thicket. How cool is that? Sorry, I had to point that out to you. So lots of the predators will keep out of the way of the elephants. Often elephants flush predators out, in fact. There's an impala snorting at something. I can see the impala. Let's go back. Humans, of course, elephants, as you can imagine, they're the ones we have to be most respectful of out here, because they're the only ones that can turn the car upside down. So if you're going to upset an elephant to the point where it's going to want to turn you over, that's not really good. I don't think they're alarming at anything. I think it's just these two impala basically having a shouting match at one another. They're rams. Don't do that. That's so unnecessary. Well, I also don't know what they're saying, so they could have just been calling each other horrible names, and I thought that they were alarming at something. Although they're looking. One's very sensitive. Let me go back as well. Let's just triple check. I have to try and turn Wendy. She doesn't like to go straight either. What have you seen? Probably nothing. No, they're not particularly worried. They're now stopped staring and they're moving off in the direction of the elephants again. Okay, fine, bye. But 2 beautiful impala rams. You don't even know what you're looking at. You're just looking at me and snorting now. I'm checking in the distance to see if I can see anything stalking towards these impala, but I can't. So I think you're telling fibs, my friend. Don't cry, wolf. All of you know that story. Okay. Well, our elephants have now moved off into the thicket. Let's do one last... Let's go down this way and see if we can find any more. But about 20 or 30 of them actually crossed the road in front of us and have already moved on down. I can just start to see the backsides disappearing. Let's see, maybe we get lucky. Maybe there's a little satellite party tailing the end of the herd. And there they go. Those are our friends from earlier. No, I think that's it. They might pop out on Central, but they've still got quite a way to go before they even get anywhere near that area. And it is very, very thick. So perhaps they're going to end up in the Mulwati. They're actually heading straight towards one of their favorite spots to drink and dig water. Lots of gremlins around there. But I don't know if they're going to have a drink now, though. It hasn't been particularly hot. Maybe they didn't go and have a second drink last night after they were disturbed at Chitwa Dam, whatever caused them to be upset. You see, look what those impala rams have done now. So there's one... I'm going to go back, sorry, Senzo. There's one female here standing on her own. Now, they're snorting. Okay, she's going to run away from us. Now she's running as well. She looks so panicked, as if to say, what are you snorting at? I'm on my own. I need help. I need protection. So I'm sure she's going to run towards those rams and stick with them. You don't want to be an impala on your own out here. I can tell you that. That would be a very, very scary sort of situation to get yourself in. Not that we've seen any leopard tracks today. It doesn't mean that they're not here. They could have just decided not to use the roads. And that happens quite regularly. But we'll keep bumbling about. We'll head towards that favorite spot of the elephants, as I was telling you about earlier. Maybe by the time we get there, they'll be digging for water. Tristan, however, was on his way to try and find the lions. Let's go see if he's had any luck.
Well, Taylor, we are on our way. So far, no luck just yet. We're just checking the area that we were in this morning when we last saw them and where they last kind of crossed out, and we're going to hope that they are here somewhere. So we're just sort of aiming to drive around. I'm heading towards the main road just because I want to try and see if I can't find a track for them that I can then at least follow the track in and get a better idea of exactly where they crossed, because that's going to help us a lot more than just aimlessly driving, although there's a vehicle right there, so I might as well just quickly ask them. Station on Triple M, close to Transformer, come in. How's it going? Did two of those Ngala cross back? So we're just getting the update. Okay, copied. Where exactly? Okay, I can see you there. Sorry, I'm just following the 2-track that we had this morning. Can I just join there? Alright, so it sounds like they're in the drainage, so let's try and see if we can't just find a way to actually get in here. We've at least found the vehicles, which is a good start to the process, and then once we've got the vehicles, we'll be able to start negotiating the drainage line itself. So, Drama Queen, you want to know how big a pride of lions can get? Well, Drama Queen, a pride of lions can get quite large. I mean, we were talking earlier about prides in the eastern part of the Kruger. So Monet is just helping me and showing me where to go. We were talking about prides in the eastern part of the Kruger. There's been recorded over 40 of them together, which is very large. I mean, that's a massive, massive pride. Imagine watching 40 lions walking down the road. That would be just the most insane thing ever, I think. So we, at the moment, don't get that big a pride. The biggest pride I've seen in the sands was the southern pride, which was 23 at one point, and that was just the females with none of the big males. So that was a really big grouping. And then we had the Mangan pride for a while, was really large as well. They were the 4 females, with all their 9 cubs, and then the 4 Majingalans. So they made a pride, I think, of 17 in total at some point. Now, where have you gone, girls? I believe the girls crossed back here with the cubs, so somewhere inside here is where they are. Seb, if you see a lion, let me know. It's not exactly friendly terrain in here, so hopefully just trying to find a gap to get through to down towards the actual drainage itself. Sorry, Seb. Just careful on the right side, sharp thorns. Interesting. No sign of them that I can see. Also just trying not to decapitate Seb and myself as we meander through this thicket. Sorry, Seb. Right, here we go. So at least got a gap down towards the actual drainage itself. So hopefully we'll be able to find them somewhere inside this area. Okay, well, we're going to keep looking here. They are somewhere here. The guys told me that they went in here and they saw them not long ago going in here. It sounds like 2 females and all the cubs, so that's good news. And while we do that, let's go back to Jamie, who I think is still ambling along through the great open plains of East Africa.
I'm ambling along with the great open plains on my left and the Mara River on my right, and a lioness in theory somewhere up ahead of me. I'm hoping though that she hasn't gone ducking off into the cover of the river vegetation. now that the sun has come up and it's starting to warm up a little bit. You can see some eland, some more eland up ahead. Our Dr. Hyena, I enjoy that name. Dr. Hyena, the migrating gazelles have not yet properly arrived, no. They tend to be a couple of weeks behind the zebra and the wildebeest, and that's the height of the Thompson's gazelle migration will start to sort of reach its peak as the wildebeest and the zebra settle in this area. So we're looking at another few weeks before something smells. Before we get to the point where the Tommies actually arrive properly. We've seen one or two scattered herds, and of course there's always a resident population. Sorry, Rackley Road. There's always a resident population in this area, but we haven't seen the height of the gazelle migration yet. Every now and again, actually, speaking of the gazelles and antelope migration, every now and again the eland get caught up as well in the whole process, especially at the river crossings, and they sometimes end up crossing along with the wildebeest and the zebra. Hello, pretty things. Have you seen a lion? There must be one somewhere here. We must be getting close now. Oh, they're so beautiful. As you can probably hear, I think you can probably hear, it is very windy here at the moment. The wind is howling. Cassie, it is actually true. I don't think it's their knees that click, actually. It's their wrists. It's their wrist bones and their carpals and their metatarsals that actually produce that clicking sound. So when you see eland run, when they come running past you, you can actually hear click, 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 click. There was a cause for great confusion between whether or not it was the bones in their joints or whether or not it was in fact just the two halves of their hooves clicking together. But they do click as they run. It's a fantastic sound. It's a completely unique sound. It sounds almost a little bit like muffled castanets. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way at this distance, or with them being where they are and with this wind, that we'll ever be able to, or that we'll be able to show you that now. And one impala. Okay, let's keep going because we're getting to the end of the sunrise safari, and I would very much hate for you to miss out on the lioness if she's still around. Somewhere around there is a wildebeest that didn't make it. You can smell it. But looking at those elands, yes, Elizabeth, absolutely. The cats do. I can see the cars ahead of me. The cats do hunt the eland. Lions will be the ones that do the most killing of eland. Maybe a leopard with an eland calf, but those are pretty much only in the league of something like a lion. They're so massive, they're basically the equivalent of hunting a buffalo. But the first time I ever saw the ridge pride was on an eland kill, months ago now. I've never ever seen an eland lion hunt. Must be extraordinary to witness. And I would imagine that the eland fight back, I would guess. Yeah. They get blown away. There appears to be a whole line of vehicles making their way towards us. Do they know something we don't? I'm going to go and figure out what's brought everybody to this area. Hopefully it's that lioness. Let's go and see what Taylor's up to.
So we're bumbling about. We didn't manage to relocate on our elephants, sadly. I think they're obviously on their way sort of westish, I suppose. That's if they don't stop and go north. They could also change and go towards Buffelshoek Dam instead, but we'll have to figure that out on the afternoon safari. We won't worry about them too much now. We're just on Inyala Road South. I was hoping to see some nice birds, but there's no birds that want to sit still enough for us to actually have a look at them. The lions walk down here. This is where we first started picking up their tracks, and I wonder if they weren't trying to hunt a buffalo, because I also see that there were buffalo footprints here. So perhaps they attempted to and then they missed. I don't know where this buffalo has gone then. Quite interesting. So I didn't see a buffalo. Oh, right. Well, speaking of the lions and buffalo, it seems as though Tristan's managed to find them.
Well, we managed to find this female as she now crosses back again outside of Djuma back into Arathusa. So it seems as though they just keep moving all over the place, and I don't know what she wants. It's the same female that led the pride this way earlier, and she seems to be very restless, so I don't know what her story is. We did count all 6 cubs, so I'm not sure why she's moving around so much, but look at how they just disappear into that coloured grass and those thickets. It's the perfect way for a lioness to go. But that's it, I'm afraid. I don't think there's any other lionesses around. I think they've all crossed over. We've just managed to find them as in pretty much the exact same place that we watched Mfumo and the rest of the pride cross, which is crazy. So we're going to try and just see. I want to just have a little look from up here. Oh, sorry, Seb, we're still in low range, so I almost jerked Seb off the back of the car by the feel of it. Let's just check from up here if we can't get a better view of what's going on. We might be able to see the rest of them. And they can't be far away if she's going back and forth in this area. Let's just try. Yeah, so they've all crossed, unfortunately, and even the guys here are saying they can't see too much. So I don't know, what's that on top there, Seb? Is that an impala on top? Yes, it is an impala. Maybe that's what she's doing. Maybe she's busy stalking at the moment. It's difficult to say, but there's lots of vehicles here, so I think we've had a really good view of them, and now that they've crossed back, I'm not going to carry on. I'll leave them to all of these guys because I don't want to pressure these cats any more than what is already necessary. So we've seen them and we had a good view of them, and they crossed over again, and I only came back this way because I thought that they were on our side again, but it seems as though they've moved off. Now we'll just have to retrieve a scarf or a beanie or something like that. Somebody's going to be very cold tomorrow, that's for sure. Let's just grab this quickly. Might drop it off with some of the guys behind us, because at the end of the day I don't know when we're next going to see somebody from this western world. This is like a foreign world these days. We don't spend much time this side. So let me just quickly go back and give it to the guys behind me now that I've just turned. So we're just going to quickly go back this way, give it to those guys, and then out and leave the area for everybody else. There's 3 vehicles on their side with them, so like I say, there's no point in us getting too kind of caught up in the sighting and making a mess for everybody. Hopefully they will come back our way again at some point. But it's quite a fancy beanie we've got. You can see lots of nice colors and flowers on it. It doesn't look as though it's very warm though. It looks as though it's completely sort of flimsy and not very nice. Nice for Senzo, I reckon. Exactly. But let's just give this to Monet. Monet, I think this must be Sips's, but I don't know when I'm going to see him again. His likelihood of you seeing him is better. Thanks, bud. So there we go. Cool. Cheers, bud. Cheers, guys. So we're just saying goodbye to everybody. I can actually see a lot of the lionesses are lying right up against the road here. So with all these vehicles, we'll leave them be and we'll carry on. And while we do that, let's go back to Taylor and see where she is and whether she's meandered her way closer to home, or if the Ellies have found their favorite drinking spot.
Definitely much closer to home. We're now on Pangolin Track, which is one of the roads we were driving this morning, and also the route that the lions took to get to the far west. But it's been really quiet. There was quite a cool bird party back in the Mulwati. There was some red-headed weavers, there were some go-away birds, there were crested bars rabbits, and all sorts of wonderful things. I think feeding on the jackalberry trees. Also, I don't know if there was maybe a raptor of some sort that was lurking about, because the go-away birds didn't seem to be too happy. I don't know, maybe an owl. Could have been an owl as well, and we know that they like to sit up in the jackalberries to keep out of the harsh light. I don't know where we're going to go. Probably going to head towards quarantine now. I'm just scanning around to see if I can see anything else. What's that? I'll just go back. No, it's nothing. I think it's just obviously elephants have pushed over a tree, and there are lots of roots and things sticking out of the ground. It looked like a lion's mane, but it's not a lion, sadly. Would have been nice. I think also I check that spot regularly because we've had Tinyor laying down there before. I know he likes it. But it's been a fairly quiet morning today. Not much around. Hopefully the bush will liven up again. I haven't even told you all yet. So we've finalized dates as to when I'm going to Kenya. I'm flying up on the 27th. I'm a bit sad because I thought I was going to be here to spend my birthday with all of you, but I won't. I shall be traveling on my birthday, and that's okay. And so I haven't really got much time left in the sands because I think I'll be going for a couple of months. I'm going to miss the leopards and the lions of the Sabi sand, so I hope for the next week they're here every single day so I can get my fix. But I'm looking forward to heading up to Kenya nonetheless. There's nothing. There's not even impala around. Like I said, you can scan and you can see quite far into the areas. And I better not take my eyes off the road for too long because Wendy just does what she wants. She doesn't like I said, she hates going in a straight line. Straight lines are not for her. But we'll keep bumbling about. Maybe we'll find the wildebeest that normally hang around on quarantine. But let's go across to Jamie, who's probably got a whole lot more wildebeest than there are in the Sabi sand.
I don't see any more wildebeest, to be completely honest with you. They're all back that way where we saw that line of them walking. I'm so excited to hear that Taylor's on her way to Kenya. She's going to love it. Can't wait. Still some time to go, but still very, very exciting news. As for us, well, we're just bumbling on our way to go home, essentially. Just to quickly get some lunch, and then we'll be back out once again. We'll grab our ranger who accompanies us after parked closing times. Our lioness, I'm afraid, she's vanished. Sorry, Kirst, can you repeat that question just because I don't think I quite understood it? Lauren in Illinois, absolutely. They get the wildebeest get mixed up and lost all the time in the larger herds, and that's basically one of the main reasons behind the constant It's complete chaos. And I mean, you're talking about 100,000 wildebeest, and when they stampede and they circle round and they mix up and they get that, there's absolutely no order to it. It is just pure panic. I think it's something that happens all the time. I suppose opportunities to make new friends for them. Oh, the wind is howling today. Sorry, dust, breath hold. Roshni, Topi don't really migrate in the way that we've seen them. I think they get caught up in the whole process, and I think they cross the river naturally as part of their existence here, where they go where there's better food. It's not really technically part of the migration. They're just sort of caught up in the middle. And they don't really participate in that massive journey. They do what's known as lecking. Excuse me. At this time of year, which is essentially their breeding process, where they all gather together in large numbers, but it's not really a migration per se. Really, the main participants of the migration are the zebra, the wildebeest, and the Thompson's gazelle, and the odd antelope that gets caught up in the chaos. And of course, bear in mind that there are certain wildebeest and certain zebra that don't migrate at all. They're resident here, they stay here, and they don't follow the rest of the herds back towards Tanzania. I'm going to try and cough up half a lung of dust. Let's go back to Tristan, who is enjoying a bumble about a Djuma.
Well, we're just slowly now making our way back home. We've come up from the Impala Plain side, and it's quite incredible just how far the Nkuhuma Pride walked last night. They came from Manyeleti yesterday afternoon, all the way through Buffelshoek, all the way down past Vuatela Camp, down towards Vulture's Nest, from Vulture's Nest across the Mulawati, up Pangolin Track, up Weaver's Nest up towards Quarantine towards Zoe's northwards, and then where we found them eventually close to the power lines in Impala Plains Road. So really did cover a lot of ground for lions that have quite full bellies. I wonder what they must have killed. Seb was saying earlier, and I actually didn't notice it as much, but my nose is quite blocked from the cold, but he was saying that they smelt quite a bit of meat and like rotten meat. So I wonder if maybe they didn't find a carcass somewhere of something and just feed off that. But it was quite big, whatever it was, because for all of them to have fairly round tummies means they needed to have fed quite well. I wonder if yesterday when they were seen coming out of Manyeleti, if they haven't been on a buffalo kill for the last few days, and that's why they still got those big round tummies. But that wouldn't explain the blood, because there was definitely blood on some of them from feeding. So maybe they just topped themselves up with something more, and that's why we smelt a bit of carcass as well as there was fresh signs. Well, they killed two, but still really cool to see them. And they, as we left and I threw that beanie to the other guy, I could see the rest of the pride was all there. So hopefully they're going to cross back to our side, and that they'll be around this afternoon. It would be fantastic if they go back to kind of where we had them to start the day for the afternoon safari. It would be really nice for Taylor to go and maybe sit with some of the lions for the afternoon. I know she's been missing the lions, so it would be really good if they do come back. And well, it was special to see Mfumo as well. I'm super happy. I was saying to Seb, I think this is the first time I've seen all four Birminghams in such a short space of time in all the time that I've been in this area. No, actually I lie, because I saw all of them together. For Birmingham main, going to slowly head back towards camp, because Happiness's breakfast is calling. And while we do that, let's go back to Taylor and we'll see where the breakfast has wafted towards her and is starting to smell good on her side. Oh, baby squirrel.
I can smell death, not breakfast. I don't know what that is. We have got some life, however. The only thing that really seems to be on quarantine this morning are a family of Kudus, and they're just walking through the golden grass. And of course there's lots of birds around in terms of Senegal lapwings, crowned lapwings, the hornbills are out and about frolicking through the grass. And Kudu don't look like they're frolicking anyway. I think they're just trying to survive. This is a good spot, I think, to be for the day. It's not too windy, there's some shade, there's some vegetation, fairly open so they can sort of see around, and if there's any predators coming towards them. And yes, Tristan, I do hope that those lions come back this way. It'll be nice to see them, though. I think they're going to be up for quite a sleep, seeing as though they've been doing quite a bit of moving around throughout the night and most of the morning, so perhaps they're only going to wake up a little bit later this afternoon. Maybe they jump across Triple M and come back to Vuatela, because we've got so many worries. It makes for the perfect spot to rest, especially when it's going to be a warm day. And I'm excited to have the warm weather back. That is for sure. Aren't they beautiful, the kudu? Not rushing into anything, sort of just casually moving across the open. Maybe they won't stay out here for too long. Perhaps they're heading straight back towards Gallagher. Now, I don't know if it was a lilac-breasted roller or a purple roller. Since we're on this massive marula just in front of us. Yeah, up that one, up top here. There you go, you're going in the right spot. There we go. Just at the top of your screen, in the middle. If you go straight in, okay, go a little bit to the right. There we go, you've got it. It is a purple roller. Is it? Go up a bit. There we go, you've got it. Ah, nice. Haven't seen one for a while. So that's a nice little way to end the show, well, in South Africa. But I'm going to send you back across to Jamie now for the final minutes of the show, and we'll see you again this afternoon.
I'm actually really looking forward to this afternoon. I think we're going to have so much fun. Going all the way down there towards the Wildebeest and the zebra, go see if we can find the Egyptian goose pride. I still haven't seen their cubs yet. I know Brent spent a wonderful morning with them on Saturday morning. So that's something I'm looking forward to. Very, very exciting. Any Agamas underneath their shepherd's tree? No. Steve, yes. I mean, even though we're in the Mara's dry season, it is technically still a much, much higher rainfall area than Djuma. So Djuma, of course, being in the height of its dry season, must be looking very brown and very dusty. And I'm sure Taylor and Tristan have also been coughing. That was accidental. Been coughing up dust as well. But the Mara, of course, just does experience much more rain. And at the same time, this has been unseasonal rain as well. High levels of unseasonal, unexpected rain, which is lovely, except when you're stuck in it in the middle of the night. Right, and on that note, I'm going to be saying a farewell to all of you. We're heading back home. We'll see you this afternoon. So thank you to VM and to Jerry and Kirsty and Final Control. As always, most importantly, a big thank you to all of you. I always enjoy now rejoining you on these internet shows, and I look forward to this afternoon. Bye-bye, everybody.